up with its support. And this was an opportunity for us to hear some Asian American voices about their experiences growing up or becoming more mature as they lived in Naperville, and what Naperville institutions has meant to them. And before I hand the mic over to my host here, our MC, Anu Ketipal, I want to thank you because, working at this library is never fun. So you have braved the challenges. And again, it doesn't mean that I want there to be a deck in front of the library. I don't. But anyway, I know it's a political statement, but I'll make it. I love the appearance of our library, and I want it to remain the same way. So thank you very much. We'll hand over the mic to Anu Ketipal.
Thank you so much, Madhu. I welcome all of you to our event today, and thank you to all the panelists for being here. As we get started, it is really an honor for me to introduce a current resident of Naperville, Sonali Dev.
I'm sorry, we switched again. We're back to Rich Low. Sorry.
We switched again.
No, we don't have to. Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
No, it is indeed a pleasure to introduce Rich Low. Born to an artistic family in China, he moved to USA at the age of 7. He's a talented author and artist whose work beautifully bridges storytelling and visual art. Rich is known for his ability to capture profound narratives through both his words and his illustrations, often exploring themes of heritage, family, and identity. His books, including Father's Chinese Opera, which was named an ALA Asian Pacific American Award for Literature Honor Book, and Mountain Chef, are celebrated for bringing diverse cultural stories to life and have resonated with readers of all ages. An accomplished illustrator and fine artist, his work can be found on large installations in public buildings throughout the Midwest, including the DuPage Children's Museum. He is also the recipient of Carter G. Woodson Book Award. We are thrilled to have him with us today to share his creative journey and insights. Let's welcome Rich Low.
That was quite an introduction.
Keep this mic, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am an immigrant, and I'm also an American. Today, I want to share my journey, a story of struggles, hope, and successes. My family immigrated to the United States from Hong Kong when I was 7 years old. We spent a year in Los Angeles before settling in Chicago's Chinatown. At that time, 22nd Street became the center of my universe. As immigrants, my family faced challenges of adapting to a new language and culture. Although I was young, it was my parents who bore the brunt of these struggles. My father has been a renowned opera composer and band leader in Hong Kong, a rising star who commanded attention wherever he went. My mother, a homemaker, had never worked outside the home. Everything changed in an instant. In America, my father became a cook for Chinese restaurants, as there were few opportunities for those who did not speak English. My mother found work in a bean sprout factory and later became a skilled seamstress. However, My father never regained the sense of purpose he once had. He lost his identity and within his music career. He never composed or led a band again. His frustration turned into bitterness. And when he passed, only a handful of people came to his funeral. But I too faced my own struggles. Growing up in the inner city of Chicago, I spent my teenage years hanging out in pool halls, smoked cigarettes, and neglecting school. At 18, I became a member of the Hip Sing Tong, a criminal organization. A shooting I was indirectly involved in became a wake-up call, prompting me to leave the city. I ended up enrolling at Eastern Illinois University as an art major, not knowing where it would lead. Moving from the inner city to the rural downstate Illinois was a culture shock. I had never lived outside of Chinatown, and suddenly the world looked completely different. But in many ways, it saved my life. During this time in college, I experimented with drugs and alcohol. Everything from marijuana to heroin to crack. I quit drugs after I got married, but it wasn't until 2017 that I finally became sober from alcohol. Through all the turmoil, one thing remained constant: my commitment to the art. There was always hope, reflecting in lives of my siblings and me. We benefited from our sacrifices of our parents made. The boys in the family all attended college, even graduate school. My younger brother, Albert, earned a doctorate in music. I received a graduate assistantship from Eastern Illinois University. My sisters married successful Americans, and together we seized the opportunities this country have to offer, forging our own successful path. After college, I found work quickly, primarily due to my extraordinary drawing skills. As a contractor in a commercial art market, I earned enough money to support my family, though I was never offered a full-time position. For 40 years, I traded art for money, received very little recognition or credit. I was never on anybody's A-list, and often feel like a second stringer, despite of my skills. Yet I knew in my heart there was something more meaningful out there. 12 years ago, I met a literary agent online, and her name is Anna Aswanger. Till today, we never met, but we have a 12 years love affair. She worked out in New York City. In an email, she challenged me, asking, "I know you can create great art, but can you write text?" Without hesitation, I said yes, even though at the time, I could barely write an email. 7 books and an audiobook later, I am now a published author. My book, Father Chinese Opera, as I knew had stated, to my surprise, won an award, American Libraries Association, which is one of the highest compliment you can get for being a writer, and a first-time writer. In many ways, the credit goes to my agent because she saw something that I never saw in myself. And one time I told her, thank you for making a gourmet out of chop suey. And she said, I only opened the box. And I never met this woman. I think we talked in 12 years, maybe less than 10 times. We just had a working relationship where she tells me to just write. Don't worry about grammar, don't worry about story. We will find the story inside these writings. And of course, my artwork is the feature of my books. I wouldn't be selling any books if my artwork wasn't good. Because God forbid I had to rely on my writing. Most of my books are about Chinese culture. It was pushed by my agent, and at first I didn't think that being a cultural writer is where I want to go. I said, I want to appeal to everybody. But she said, you will get published easier if you're a cultural writer. And carefully crafted with Anna's guidance, I learned to make books. I don't write them, I make them. They sold really well, and I receive royalty on all my books, which is something she told me from the beginning not to ever think about. Just get your advance and spend it. But to my surprise, 12 years later, I received royalty from all my books. These are surprises in life that I never thought that I could be here talking to you, because the odds are so low being an independent artist for all these years, and I think I still have a lot more ideas to push. 2022, I had the privilege of painting a mural on the west wall of the Chinese American Museum in Chicago. It featured a Chinese opera theme. It's also my family legacy, and when I presented the ideas, it was unanimous that the Chinese opera was the theme that we want in the neighborhood. Now, this is the neighborhood I grew up in. The experience is transformative. Everybody came out. I come down from my scaffold ladder to talk to all my friends. Some I haven't seen in like 20, 30 years. But the experience was bigger than artwork. But to my surprise, it was the artwork's bigger than the experience, because people continue to go there and have their picture taken and send it back to home, to friends, and spreading the word that there's a piece of artwork that actually affected them in some ways. And I think that's the beauty of public art. The value of writing cultural books, these books found successes, with 2 being translated into Korean and Turkish. I think if we were to look back as immigrants, my goal wasn't this lofty. I often thought that I would survive 25 years doing something, and eventually I would sell some work. So this journey not only surprised me, I think it surprised everybody that associated with me, because they wouldn't think that anybody can survive this type of gauntlet of challenges. Early in May, I spoke to 400 students and faculty at the University of Chicago Lab School during Asian Month. I didn't know what I would tell grammar school kids about this life. But I think I can tell them that I found my voice through public art and children's books. A voice that would set me apart. And that resonated with the children, especially when I showed them the artwork. My work is evaluated every single day. And I understand the responsibility that comes with it. I have clarity on my mission now. So on September 17th of this year, I began working in a mural at the DuPage Children's Museum, funded by the city through SECA. The mural was inspired by my children's book, Chinese Kite Festival, featuring animal kites. Every day, busload of students watch the process. The driver giving me thumbs up. Visitors stop to chat. NC-17 TV documented the entire process, which you can watch on the portal or watch on our website. I feel incredibly fortunate, especially since I never considered myself a muralist. This newfound voice had also brought unexpected privileges, such as reading books to sick children at Lurie Children's Hospital, donating artwork to support schools and other nonprofit organizations. And recently I spoke to the 8th grader at Kennedy Junior High about creativity. My goal is to inspire as many people as possible with my work, encouraging them to be creative, not just in the arts, but in their everyday life, improving themselves and others around them. I'm grateful for the opportunity to share a glimpse of my journey. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richlow, for sharing your inspirational journey with us. Our next panelist, I already started introducing her before, is our current Naperville resident, Sonali Dev, a celebrated author known for her richly layered novels that bring South Asian culture and heartfelt stories to readers worldwide. Sonali's books, such as Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors, and Recipe for Persuasion, through their intricate storytelling, blending romance, family, and self-discovery, have resonated universally. Her novels have been named Best Books of the Year by Library Journal, NPR, and the Washington Post, and she has won the American Library Association's Award for Best in Genre, and many other recognitions. She advocates for diversity in publishing, especially in commercial publishing. Her storytelling and her ability to bridge cultures together make her a unique voice in contemporary fiction. We are delighted to welcome her to our panel today. Let's welcome Sonali Dev.
Hi everyone. That was amazing and touching, Trish. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And it's a hard act to follow, but I will try. Another disclaimer, I came home from home, so I just got back from India. I spent 5 weeks there, so I'm a little bit in the twilight zone. So I beg your pardon for inappropriateness, which is kind of part of my voice. So, anyhow, I have lived in Naperville, and the reason I'm here, of course, is because Madhuji, when Madhuji calls and you live in Naperville, you show up. That's my Naperville tidbit for the day. We moved here in 2008. Thank you, Anika. My daughter is here with me. my children were in 2nd grade and 4th grade. We lived in Michigan for about 15 years before that. So I consider myself a fully Midwestern Desi, which just means that I can be passive-aggressive in 2 languages, maybe 3. Not maybe 3, I can be passive-aggressive in 3 languages. And before that, so I grew up in Mumbai, and where I moved when I was, I think, 4th grade. But the reason I bring this up is that my father was a military man. He was in the Indian Air Force. And so my early life was spent living in a different city every year. And so I had, the start of my life is marked by the experience of being a new kid on the block. So my writing, I think, goes back to that. I was also this phenomenon in my family, which I'm sure a lot of women who grew up in my time have an experience of. I was the chatterbox of the family. So it was, I had 7 older male cousins. I was the only girl, I was the youngest. And one of the first things I noticed when I was growing up was that they all liked to talk, just as much as I did. And none of them were labeled a chatterbox. And so it was very early introduction to the idea of how desirable it was in a woman to be silent. And the word we currently are all very familiar with, demure. So growing up, I think I had the need, however, to express every opinion that popped in my head. And being the new kid on the block, that involved having someone to talk to all the time. And what I had listening at all times was a notebook. So we called it a diary back then. It's called journaling now. And I realized early in life that words on a page always listen. So a page always listens. And that became really how I started to write. So my very introduction to writing was having opinions on everything and needing to express them. And so that's where this whole thing came from. And I continued to do that as I grew. I went to school. I have a degree in architecture. Because I think if you ask me, people often ask when you're a writer, how did you get started? And my answer is I have absolutely no idea other than what I just told you. So as long as I have been alive and conscious, I have written. And the bigger question then is how did you make the journey to being a published author? And Madhuji had wanted me to speak to that a little bit. But if growing up in India, it was, I was lucky enough to grow up in a family where even as a girl, the question was never, are you going to college? The question always was, what are you going to do in college? So there was an immense amount of privilege in that. And we were expected absolutely to stand on our own feet. And we were expected also to have a family and be a domestic goddess. And I love to say that ours is, ours is a generation of women, at least the ones growing up in India, who took on all the pressure of our fathers to succeed in the workplace and continue to take on all the pressures of our mothers to be perfect wives and daughters-in-law and mothers and be everything to everyone. So we are the definitively exhausted generation. My entire 20s and 30s were marked by falling asleep without having even an iota of energy left. So utter exhaustion was what marked my 20s and 30s. And that it has given me this and this, so I have no regrets. But a lot of thematically, a lot of my books are that journey. It is the journey of being a woman in today's world. And to me, specifically, Rich talked about finding your voice. That is definitively the me that is in my books. And that journey to me has felt like a tightrope walk between personal independence, between deciding who I want to be and what I want to be, and being everything to everyone and fulfilling all the expectations that I've carried. So I think that is the definitively female journey, which is, personal independence and community, and bridging that gap is a thing that women have, done, especially in the past few decades, which shows up a lot in my books, and that is the defining theme in my books. But coming back to, how Naperville is tied to my writer journey, is that I went to, obviously we were encouraged to feed ourselves, and being a fiction writer does not fall under that realm, because if any of you are planning, to make a living with writing, I urge you to reconsider. That is one of my favorite quotes about writing is, if you can stop writing, do. So it's, having said that, so I was encouraged to do, to do something more reliable, as all young people who want to do creative things are often encouraged. And so I went to architecture school, and my first job out of architecture school was working in an architect's office, and it was incredibly boring, and I got dumped. And so in that moment of, there's been a theme again in my life where every time I'm in a place of absolute powerlessness, I do something really crazy to regain my power, and I recommend this highly as a life choice, because I called the architectural journal, which was the leading architectural journal in India at the time, called Indian Architect and Builder, and I called the editor and I said that this is my dream job, to work for you is my dream job, what will it take? And from then on, I went to work for Indian Architect and Builder as a writer, as a journalist, combined both my passions, combined my passion with the thing I had gone to school for. And once I had done that, I knew I'm never going to go back and be an architect. And I knew which side of that fence I wanted to be on. Came to America, got a degree in writing, worked as a technical writer for 20 years. And we moved to Chicago, by which time I had decided that there was something that I kind of needed to do to get this dream I had always carried. And so I went, there's a really wonderful program at the University of Chicago, and so when I started to take the train, I had little kids, and all of that. But I do want to say that as I, every single time, my kids went to school at Prairie and Washington, and Naperville North, and so we spent a whole lot of time in downtown Naperville. We also lived very close by, and every time I passed Anderson's was my living,
Can you hear me?
I'm so sorry. Our next speaker is online, so that's fine.
All right, well, she's going to wait for a few moments. I'm sorry. But it was my live vision board, because every author that I have ever admired has spoken at Anderson's, and they would always have the author signing signs out there, and I would always stroke them. It was a bit creepy, but as I passed by, I was always kind of, visualizing my name on there. And 12 books in, I have done every one of my launch events at Anderson's. I have my next one will probably be 1st of February. And it actually is set in Naperville. It's called There's Something About Mira, and it's set in Naperville, Naperville's Brown Town, as the kids call it. And it has, of course, it's the story of this young woman who's grown up in Naperville, in a family that isn't exactly, I did actually want to talk about about the aspirationalism of being part of, Brown Town in America. And so a lot of our children grow up with immense amounts of pressure to perform, especially academically, but really in all, spheres. And so a lot of my books are also about that, being the perfect Indian kid, academically achieving and all the things. So she's grown up in that world, and she is engaged to the catch of Brown Town, and she ends up going on her engagement trip to New York by herself because her orthopedic surgeon fiance cannot make the time in his schedule, and she ends up in New York by herself, ends up finding a ring on the street and gets obsessed with finding the owner, and ends up unraveling this ages-old love story between two women back in India. And it's this whole romp that goes back to Mumbai and Darjeeling and takes you, which is again, a lot of my books kind of take you across the globe and unravels this this ages-old love story, but also really unravels who she really is. But Naperville is the vehicle, and it, it shows up and it stars. So that is all the time I think I have. I'm making everybody a little uncomfortable with my chatterbox ways, but thank you so much for being here, and thank you for letting me spend the afternoon with you.
Thank you so much, Sonali. That was very interesting, and thank you for sharing about your journey with us. Very inspiring. Our next speaker, it is my great pleasure to introduce Trisha Prabhu. She's a member of the Gen Z. She's deeply rooted in Naperville, born here, went to school here, and she's a remarkable innovator of ReThink, and she did that at the age of 13. She is a CEO, author, and advocate. I'm sorry. She's a CEO, author, and advocate for social change. Her work has been recognized worldwide, earning her numerous awards, among them from the White House, Google, and various universities, including MIT. She received the WebMD Health Hero Prodigy Award and the Princess Diana International Anti-Bullying Award. Trisha is passionate about ending diversity, ending disparities in the STEM field, and an ardent supporter of empowering women in the entrepreneurial community. In 2021, she was the youngest honoree named to Forbes 30 Under 30 Social Impact List. Trisha is a summa cum laude graduate of Howard University, and because she's currently pursuing her postgraduate study at the University of Oxford as a US Rhodes Scholar, she is joining us online. Please help me welcome Trisha.
Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor to be here. And a big thank you to the organizers for putting on such an incredible event. I'm genuinely honored and very grateful to be able to return, albeit virtually, to my Naperville roots, because Naperville really is where my journey getting into this work of tackling cyberbullying began. You know, my family and I, we moved to Naperville when I was 4, maybe 5 years old. And even then, I remember at that age, you know, witnessing how digital technologies were changing how young people were interacting, the experiences that we were having day to day. Some of those changes were positive. I remember being able to watch music videos that I liked and being able to communicate with friends and make plans to go trick-or-treating. But some of those changes were sadly negative. I had friends, you know, kids that I went to school with at Scullin Middle School and later at Neuqua Valley High School that had experiences with online bullying. I myself had my own experiences with online bullying. And those experiences really pushed me to consider and start to question and wonder, is this the best that we can do for youth in terms of the digital experience? Is it possible that there is a better internet out there that we can reclaim? And if so, how can we do it? I started to do a lot of research trying to understand the scope and the extent of cyberbullying. And what became immediately apparent was first, just how much of a negative impact cyberbullying was having. You know, in the US alone, over 50% of youth aged 13 to 17 have been harassed online. The other thing was the disproportionate impacts that it was having. You know, women, people of color, historically marginalized groups are disproportionately impacted by online hate. And the last statistic was a statistic that really got my gears going, because what it showed was that 90% of young cyberbullying victims do not tell a parent about their online abuse. So they don't tell anyone that they're experiencing this harassment. And that is a problem, you know, inherently, because it means that, you know, parents aren't clued in necessarily to, you know, some of those negative experiences that youth can have online. But it's also a problem because at the time when I started this work, the most common solution that was advocated, you know, by everyone to tackle cyberbullying was tell your child to come and report the cyberbullying to you, right? That was the default solution. It was called stop, block, and tell, right? Stop what you're doing, block the cyberbully, tell a parent. But it turns out that unfortunately young people were not doing that. And so the solution that we were pushing was not working. The other thing that I remember as a young person seeing that solution and thinking was, hold on, isn't this kind of backwards? Why are we putting the burden on the victim to take action after they've been harassed? Shouldn't we be prompting the cyberbully to reflect, to choose a better approach to their digital communications? Shouldn't we be trying to fundamentally shift online culture? So with that kind of, you know, frustration and tension and wanting to do something with this fire that had been lit inside of me, I decided to go to the drawing board and start tinkering. I had always loved technology, and I think that's why another reason that this problem was, you know, it felt so acute for me, because I believed in the promise and the potential of technology to do good. And so I started to think, was there some sort of technology solution that I could develop that could proactively stop cyberbullying before any damage was done? I tossed around ideas for many, many months. It was not, innovation is never a straight line. Every inventor will tell you that. And I did a lot of research. I poured through books at the Naperville Public Library. I talked to experts. I cold emailed people, trying to just learn as much as I could about young people's online behavior, what the science tells us. And ultimately, I came across a really fascinating article that basically likened the teenage brain to a car with no brakes. And the principle was very simple, and it's not one that I'm sure will be, you know, very surprising to folks in the room. But the principle was, in effect, that the way that the brain develops is such that teenagers, while most of their brain is developed, one part of their brain is still developing. And that part of their brain controls decision-making and impulse control. And so teens, that is, you know, youth age 13 to 18, but also up to the early 20s, really struggle to think through the consequences of their actions. That's certainly true in person, but a lot of the experts were mentioning that that's doubly so online, because when you're online, you're already in this ephemeral environment, right, where every action seems, you know, so small and so unimportant. You can't see the person that you're talking to. And so it's even more difficult to think through the consequences of our actions, of our words, in a digital environment. That got me thinking, so what I'm hearing is a lot of young people today have access to this technology that gives them immense power, but they're not properly equipped to think through the ramifications of saying something mean or hurtful online. What if I could actually give them a way to think through the ramifications of saying something mean or hurtful online? And that was where the idea for ReThink was born. I thought, I'm going to develop a technology that can, with every keystroke as you're typing on a phone or on another device, intelligently detect if what you're about to say could be offensive, and then prompt you to pause, review, and rethink. Hold on, are you sure you want to say that? Of course, when I came up with the idea, I was skeptical. You know, I'm a teen, and I thought to myself, will young people actually buy into this? Like, will they actually be interested in something like this? And so I decided to go and conduct a science experiment to find out. That year I had my 8th grade science fair experiment at Scullin, and my incredible teacher there, I came to her with this idea and I said, I have a big vision for what I want to do. And she told me, well, you know, the normal time period for the science experiment is 6 weeks, but I tell you what, if you want to do a bigger project, I will support you. And that really has been the story of Naperville throughout this journey. At every step along the way, whether it was the research at the Naperville Public Library or me at middle school, I had people encouraging me, cheering me on. And so this teacher supported me through what ended up becoming a 9 to 10 month study, as opposed to a 6-week study, where I examined the efficacy of this concept by developing social media-like platforms and assessing how young people that used them responded and behaved when they had the ReThink alert versus when they didn't have the ReThink alert. And what I ultimately found was that over 93% of the time, youth aged 13 to 18 that got that chance to pause and rethink changed their mind. So it was an incredibly effective way to stop cyberbullying before it happened. And more crucially, you know, when I talked to young people about it, they were really impressed by the concept. It wasn't just that it helped them to rethink, they felt like it gave them a chance to be a better version of themselves. It wasn't punishing them, it was inspiring them and empowering them to be a better version of themselves. And that was something that was super exciting to them. From there, it was a little bit of a whirlwind. You know, I ended up having the chance to give a TEDx talk about the concept that I had developed, and that generated a lot of attention and interest. From there, I thought, okay, you know, I have this idea, why don't I turn it into a reality? Why don't I create a product? And so, you know, by the time I was 15, 16, I had officially launched a social enterprise, which is today called ReThink, that delivers this technology to youth not only across the country, but globally. And today we have scaled up to, you know, a place I could have never imagined when I was 13 and I was in Naperville starting this work. You know, we work with NGOs around the world, community orgs around the world, including in India, which is, you know, where my parents are from. And in fact, one of the coolest things that I've had the chance to do since starting ReThink is deliver a TED Talk in India alongside Shah Rukh Khan as part of a series called New Thinking, and get to share this concept that I have developed, a new way of thinking. And so being able to connect back to my roots in that way has been so gratifying. Being able to do that work on that scale has been so gratifying. And I think, you know, one of the most powerful things for me has certainly been hearing from young people how it has fundamentally changed their digital experience. So many of them will say that they, over time, need the technology less because they're learning to rethink before they type, right? They are more intentional and critical and respectful. That's something that it feels like we're certainly missing in our society today, and especially online. And so I just feel so privileged and lucky to have been able to recapture that for young people. In terms of where we're going in the future, you know, ReThink is always developing in new languages. We are also looking to create underserved communities. We also now have a nonprofit arm of our work that is, you know, doing work with communities that can't afford you know, the technology, and that has been, again, very gratifying. We also have new offerings, including educational materials and resources that we've developed so that we can, you know, deliver the technology and crucial digital literacy education hand in hand. And we've got the backers, you know, some amazing people backing us. You know, everyone from most recently Prince Harry and Meghan Markle via their Archwell Foundation to you know, Melinda French Gates' Pivotal Ventures supporting us through a fund. So we're just so grateful for all the support. And when I think back to Naperville, I think back not only to, you know, all those moments of encouragement, all the access to resources and the people cheering me on. I think back to a community that fundamentally was excited to encourage someone who didn't per se look like the stereotypical entrepreneur to go after their dreams. And I think that is what is so special about our community. particularly the Indian American community in Naperville. I definitely didn't fit the mold, and even to this day, a lot of the rooms that I walk into, I'm often one of the only women and often certainly the youngest person in the room. But, our community is one that is excited to champion people who think differently, who have visionary ideas, and who want to break the glass ceiling. And so I'm always just tremendously grateful for that, and excited to keep that culture going, because I know that there are many, many more great ideas out there that are just waiting to come to life. Thank you so much. I can't hear anything right now, but I hope all of that came across to everyone. Okay, good. I'm getting a thumbs up. Good.
Thank you so much, Trisha. And your journey has been amazing. You had some amazing ideas, and you are a true visionary. And you make us all proud. Now, Trisha is going to be with us just briefly just now, so we cannot wait to take questions for her till the end, like we're doing for the other panelists. So if there's any questions, we should address those now. Would you like to? Do you have a question?
Oh, no.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much for a fascinating and inspiring presentation. It was amazing. Will you come back to Naperville?
I'm so sorry, I missed. I think maybe the question was, when are you coming back to Naperville? Was that what the question was?
And will you? Yes.
Will you come back?
Will I come back to Naperville? Yes. My parents still live there. I'll be back for Thanksgiving, which I'm looking forward to. But I think in the long term, yes. My goal is to come back to Naperville because I think it is one of the best communities, not just in Illinois, but across the country. And I'm excited, to see what, if anything, I can contribute beyond this idea to our community specifically. A lot of the volunteer work I did in high school and even beyond remains some of the most meaningful work I've done in my life. At the Naperville Public Library, for instance, I used to run Girls Who Code classes for young Naperville women who wanted to break into the coding world. And that work was just some of the best, most inspiring, wonderful work to do. I learned as much from them as I hope they learned from me. So yes, I'm excited to come back to Naperville, hopefully soon.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Excuse me, can you ask her how do we contact her?
Okay, somebody had a question on if you have any contact information, how do they get in touch with you?
I have the contact information.
Yes. So you can reach out via my website, which is just my name, trishaprabhu.com, or you can reach out specifically. The email address is contact, so CONTACT, contact at trishaprabhu.com. Prabhu spelled PRABHU. So certainly, feel free to get in touch, and looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Excellent presentation. Really enjoyed what you just said, and I think it applies to a lot of our children, teenagers. And you said that the brain development of a 13 to 17-year-old doesn't think what they're going to say or the ramifications of what they are putting up online. Now you tell me that you've developed an app, right? And now, how does this bully know before typing up these horrible messages to pause before typing? How does that person know?
Yes, I think I got most of the question. So it's a great question. I think you're speaking to, the fact I said that, teens struggle to think through their decisions. Here we are providing this intervention at this moment to pause. If they can't think through, their decisions, how will they pause? So I think it's helpful to actually get into the brain science a little bit. So the way that the brain develops, I did not know this when I first started this work. It's actually really fascinating. The way the brain develops when a child is born is the brain develops from the back to the front. So the first parts of the brain to develop are back here. And then by the time the child is about 13, 90% of the brain is fully developed. It's just this front part that remains, and that last 10%, which is called the prefrontal cortex, will itself take another 13 years to develop. So the brain is only fully developed around 25, 26. And that last 10%, the prefrontal cortex, is the part that controls the impulse control and decision making. And so that's the reason a lot of teens, sometimes will make decisions and later they'll think, oh, that probably wasn't the best decision. But in the moment, they short circuit. And in particular, they're unable to fully think through the consequences of the decision. So it's not that they can't think per se, it's that they move through that process really quickly. They don't really take the time the same way that, adults who will take the time to think through the consequences of their decisions, they don't really take all that time. And so what ReThink is really doing is, it's not that they don't have the capacity to think, it's that they don't do it in the right way. What we're trying to do is get them to build a habit, which a lot of adults get better at as their brain develops, of actually taking the time, right? That's why we're delivering that alert. It pops up on their screen, this ReThink alert, and it basically stops them from sending the message for a moment. It covers their screen, and in that moment they can't text. They have to look at the alert, which is telling them, hold on, are you sure you want to say that? And it's giving them that time, that friction that they're not going to get just in their head to consider, okay, is this the type of person that I want to be online? Does this represent my values well? Does this represent my family well? Is this what I stand for? In a way that is harder to do when they're just typing, and there's nothing, right, delivering any type of friction, whether on the phone or in their brain. So we're kind of trying to substitute for the friction that they're currently missing in their head via this alert, this intelligent alert that pops up on their phone and kind of forces them to take a step back and think. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you so much, Trisha. This is very good. Excellent.
Thank you.
Lucy Chang, a current Naperville resident. She is a dynamic leader whose career is a testament to courage, expertise, and public service. Lucy's diverse background as an engineer, former CIA agent, and now a respected politician as DuPage County board member. She brings a unique blend of technical knowledge, strategic insight, and dedication to the community. Lucy's experience across diverse fields makes her a powerful voice on any platform, and we are delighted to have her insights today. Please join me in welcoming Lucy Chang.
I just turned this on, or was it off? Is this working?
Yes.
Oh, it is working now. Okay. Yeah. Hello, thank you. Madhu, thank you so much for inviting me. It's great to have everybody here. I am Lucy Chang Evans. I am a DuPage County board member, and I just want to make one small correction. It was a secret service, it wasn't the CIA. If it was the CIA, you would never know it. I would never be here. But yeah, so I loved hearing everybody's stories. And I'm just going to go through kind of my Asian journey to Naperville. And it's been an interesting journey. So I was born in Oregon. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. And my parents were from Taiwan. So I'm a Chinese American by way of Taiwan. And the thing is, I grew up in Portland, Oregon in a time where we weren't the rich part of Portland. We were the really poor part of Portland. My parents didn't come here for better opportunities, actually. They would have been much better off financially if they stayed in Taiwan. They came here just because they wanted to be Americans. And the interesting thing is, they really wanted us. I was one of 4 children. I'm number 3. And my whole life growing up in this all-white area of Portland was, people would say things to me like, oh my gosh, your English is so good. Or, and I would say, yes, I was born here. And they would say, well, you speak good for you, do you eat with chopsticks? They would ask me questions, and it was mostly genuine curiosity, but I always felt like a foreigner. And even even to this day, sometimes people will say, oh, so your name's Lucy, but what's your real name? And I will say, I was born with the name Lucy. My parents wanted me to assimilate. They wanted to be Americans. And they would say, oh, okay, but don't you have a Chinese name? I'm like, yes, but my name is Lucy. So that was kind of my experience growing up. And I had a lot of racist stuff, things being thrown at me from a moving car when I was walking home from school when I was a kid, that type of thing. But for the most part, my friends, my childhood friends, they didn't see anything different. They would, ask me if I used chopsticks or something. But it was a great childhood. And it really taught me how to learn how to live within a community that my friends welcomed me, a lot of people didn't. But I always felt foreign. And then, so I went to college at the University of Southern California. And if anybody's ever been to California or Southern California, there's nothing special about being Asian there. I felt right at home. I never felt foreign. It was the first time in my life where I felt like, oh, I'm just an average person. And it was wonderful. And so I graduated with a degree in civil engineering. And I was a civil engineer for about 6 years. But after the first few years, I got bored. And that's when I made this decision the first decision was to be an FBI agent. That didn't work out. So and it's not because they didn't want to hire me. It took 3 years for them to even call me for an interview. So in the meantime, I applied to the Secret Service and I got in. So I was hired shortly after 9/11. And this fulfilled my patriotic duty. I always felt like, we're Americans. My parents were very, we're Americans and, be a part of your community. And that, especially after 9/11, I applied before 9/11, but it really, I wanted to always be a part of the community. So that was my Secret Service journey, and I was one of only 2 Asians in my whole class, and in the entire agency, I knew of maybe 5 Asian women. So it's highly unusual. So once again, I felt more like a novelty once I went back into that career. Engineering, there's, dime a dozen. We're all Asian in engineering, but the Secret Service, being a female is one thing, but being a female Asian, that was just, one of a very small handful of people. And so one of the biggest things about when I was a Secret Service agent was meeting my first husband. We were both in the same training class. He was training to be a diplomatic security service agent, which is with the State Department, and I was in the Secret Service class. Well, we got married and had 3 kids, and we got moved to Chicago. So he's an FBI agent now, and we didn't get a choice about where we got to live. So we were sent to the Chicago field office, and then we had to decide where do we want to live and raise kids. And so we chose Naperville. And we moved here in 2006, and we had 3 kids, and it's been interesting raising them. So he's just a white guy, and so my kids are half Asian. And so they didn't have the experience that I had growing up. But the interesting thing about Naperville is that there's still some racism here. I thought it was going to be, I thought that was going to be over. But, I bought a house in 2015. And I wanted to really get to know my neighborhood. And there was one time I saw all these teenagers going through my neighbor's backyard to get to the field. And I hated it. When I was growing up, people would cut through my house, the yard of my house, and vandalize our yard. And I thought, they're not going to do this to my neighbor. I called on those kids and I said, get out of their yard. This is not a shortcut. And they told me to go back to China. So I yelled back at them and I said, I'm going to find your effing moms. I will find you. And I took pictures of them. I wouldn't recommend this, but I was a very aggressive child. This is what an aggressive child looks like when they grow up. And sure enough, they're still hanging around the neighborhood. I see a pickup truck roll up. And by the way, my kids are watching this whole thing, probably in complete horror. But it just triggered so many memories of when people told me to go back to China. So, I told them, I'm gonna find your parents. And sure enough, I did. that pickup truck that pulled up to take them to their house, that was their parents. So it was two of their parents. So I was able to confront them. The parents were just so embarrassed that their kid did that. So that's a Naperville thing. And my kids never really experienced that, but they saw it happen to me. And I wanted them to know, hey, this is what it was like growing up, and it's so much different for you kids now. And, I thought that was an isolated incident. But, during a few years later, my kids were, one of my young son was at the park, and I saw him there, and I said hi. I let him play by himself at the park, and I was walking home, and there was this group of 3 boys. They looked like they couldn't have been more than 10 years old. One of the kids looked at me and said, "Ching Chang, Ching Chang." And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna get this kid. I'm gonna get this kid. First, I was gonna let it go, but then once again, it triggered the times when I was a kid and felt so helpless. I was wearing high-heeled leather boots, and I ran after these kids. I ran faster than their bikes, and I ran right in front of them, and I said, "Stop. What did you just say?" And they shat themselves. So, and my son was watching in horror because I was back at the park with, and these kids were there. And I was very confrontational. And he said, I wasn't saying anything. I didn't say that. I was coughing. And I said, you were not coughing. I know exactly what you said. So anyways, this is just, this is Naperville. And so you hear people on the city council, not you, Benny, but I've heard somebody on the city council say, well, this is Naperville. There's no racism here. And I'm here to tell you, and Benny will tell you, everyone in this room will tell you that it is here. Yes. But we're still a community, but we can't sweep it under the carpet. And so that's one of the things that I ran for Naperville City Council in 2021. Didn't even come close to winning. That was kind of on a whim, but it was one of the reasons I wanted to run was because there's not enough representation from the Asian community. Number one in politics, and number one just in general in decision-making positions. So didn't come close, but I ran for the following year. I ran for DuPage County Board, and I did win this time. I wouldn't have wanted to lose 2 elections in a row, but I'm the first Chinese American woman on the DuPage County Board. But yeah, so Naperville has shaped me in so many different ways because it is a very diverse community. I think it's very welcoming to Chinese people, to Asians, to all races, but everyone in this room, I'm looking around, everyone in this room can attest to the fact that it's never perfect. And we always have to speak up. And we also have to stick up for each other. When I was a kid, one of my friends, somebody was calling me a chink, and she stood up for me. We were like 6 years old, and she stood up for me and said, and she yelled right back at the teenagers that were calling me names. And, that felt good. And so, I encourage everybody in this room to, use their voice. I've always had my voice. I can tell you've always had your voice, but nobody wanted to listen. But when you get into these, when you get the microphone, people do listen. And it's our responsibility to stand up for each other and to really cherish the diversity that each of us brings to the community, because it really makes us stronger. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think most of us in this room can relate to how wonderful a place it is to live in Naperville, having lived in this area, this region for about 43 years. I can definitely attest to that. And at the same time, I can also attest to having kids who were born here and raised here and the racism that they have faced. So it is a very important factor of life, and we all have to keep working through that. So thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Prakasam Tata. Born in India, he received his BSc, MSc degrees there, worked for a few years, and then in 1962, he moved to USA and studied at Rutgers University, received his PhD there, and was a faculty member at Cornell University. He has worked at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago, and for the past several years has done humanitarian service activities through Bharati Tira and Rotary Club of Naperville. He is the recipient of several awards, including the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, Congressional Medal, and 4 Lifetime Achievement Awards. I welcome Dr. Tata.
I think I need a haircut, don't you think? All right, guys. Chang, roll the roll. I have a different tempo in my presentation because I'm going to go show you some pictures and my life journey, like the other speakers spoke about. I'm thrilled about listening to these stories, different experiences. So I like this title, Rooster Roots, Crops. In other words, they say that the spelling is some other place in the world. So my life journey from January 5 to 1936 till to date. That date was my date of birth. If somebody wants to celebrate it, it's coming in 2 months. Make your gifts ready. Okay? Question. Let's go. Very quickly. I like this idea because roots. What are roots? Where are my roots first? Next one. My roots that I know were just formed through my grandfather. He barefootedly used to go to a Sanskrit college in Vijayanagaram, where I was born. And on the 7 different days, he used to eat at different places, 7 homes. He used to tell them before that I'm coming today. So we'll put his towel there. People know that he's coming at that day for food before going to the Sanskrit college. And in the night, in the evening, he walks back after studying under the municipal lanterns in those days, and then go back home. His mom used to get him back to the hut in which he used to live in the village. That was his background. But his passion was to be the number 1 in Sanskrit language. He became a pandit. Look at him. He studied the 6 gurus, and the big half-a-wheel and quarter-wheel were his students. They directly studied under him. Coming to his house, and he goes there. And then the branch of students, and all is called the tree of his students, or tree of this guru. Now there is only far up to the age of 60 when he received the Viceroy Hardinge title of Mahavajra, means the greatest teacher from the Viceroy of India at that time. So he died in 1944. I was 8 years old. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, my grandfather was there, and that was my father and my mother. My mother became widowed when I was 3 years old, and this guy, my father, was the first Doctor of Science in Andhra University, majoring in chemistry. I did have the luck of his wisdom and guidance. My mother was 5th grade educated. Only values, ethics, and morals on which she lived her life. She always used to tell me, "Ore Prakasam," that is in Telugu, "you be in school, otherwise we'll all beg together." That was the lifestyle we had early childhood. That motivation for me, not an iPhone I will buy you, I will buy a nice toy, nothing like that. You stay in school, otherwise we'll all beg. Because she's depending on me as the only son, and I'm the breadwinner to be in the family. And these are my siblings. The first my brother-in-law there, my elder sister, she's 3 years older than me, she's still living. And that's me. And this photo was taken. How do you look till now? Side by side. Almost same, right? And that is my bride, and that's my brother-in-law, and my younger sister. This is our family. That's one. Look at this picture. I wanted to see carefully this one. I was 17 years old. I never had any baby pictures. No pictures at all. Not one. This was the first photograph with my bride. I was 17, she was 12. My mom asked me, "Hey Prakash, you marry this girl." Okay, mom. Done. Kaput. Look at, I don't even have shoes. I went to the photo studio. I never had shoes. I went to college barefoot. All right? And I didn't have a wristwatch. The poor fellow, the cameraman, took pity on me. "You don't have a wristwatch? You're a bridegroom? Come on." He gave me his watch. And he took a picture of mine. My bride, so innocent, she didn't know why the hell he's getting married. I don't even know why I'm getting married. My mom said, I said, "Okay, mom, that's it. No questions asked." I received my BSc degree in chemistry major at the age of 17. I don't know how they did it, but I did it. I was an rank student. At the age of 19, I finished my master's degree. Then I said, Rhodes to the USA and other countries. 7 years I worked in rural areas of West Bengal and Maharashtra. I thought I would change the country. This tall American professor was my first guru. I didn't realize how to get a job with him. An Indian guy, 19 years old, an American, tall, white American, motivated me. My mother was always sick. She was in depression because I lost my father. And she was hardly 30, 31. India, most people don't get married again. And so it was a miserable life. But that time, she was always depressed. And I didn't know that she was depressed. And I always wanted to be a physician. I was a rank student, but I had money to go to med school. 5,000 rupees are needed at that time. The next best thing I thought I would do biochemistry. Maybe I'll find something that will prevent the disease or cure the disease or something like that. Then this guy asked me a question. He mentioned to me 80% of the disease in India is waterborne. And I was always hung up of curing the disease because of my mother's depression. Cure the patients. Any poor patients come to me because we're poor, treat them for free. This was my mental setup. All of a sudden, this guy asked me, after telling 80% of the disease is waterborne in India, he asked the question, what do you think? Prevention or cure? I had to think a little bit, because my mind was set to be a physician and cure the disease. This man asked me this question. Then I remember my high school days teachers, they used to tell me, Prakash, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. The big bass voice with this professor used to tell me. I remember that. Sir, don't you think it is better to prevent the disease than cure the disease? All right, he said. Then 2 months later, I got a letter. I'm appointing as a research assistant to work in the rural areas of Bengal. Now prevent the disease by providing safe drinking water and eliminate dope and defecation. That's what he said. Okay. From that day onwards, in 1955 till today, I didn't change my mind. Always rural water supply, sanitation. Any city I travel in the world, I want to see the sewage treatment plant first. How they treat the sewage. And you know my daily prayer in Chicago? Oh Lord, let the people in Chicago be not constipated. Let them flush. My job is secure. That's what I pray. Everybody prays, give me $1 million rupees or $1 billion. But my prayer is, don't be constipated. That's what it is. And my gratitude is very good. I came to America. I think the very first slide, you must have seen, that I walked to get my own rickshaw in Vijayanagara to go to the train station with my brother-in-law. We boarded the train. We went to Bombay to pick up a boat. I traveled by boat to Southampton, England. We got on the train. Got on the train, went to London. I saw the whole city. Our masters who stole the crown jewel, who stole a lot of gold from India. The Britishers were Lords. I want to see the London, the big Ben and all stuff. I saw that for one day, and then I flew. So I carried all the transportation modes, walking, getting the rickshaw, getting the train, going to Bombay, getting on the boat, the sea, and then by air. I landed in New York City, 1962, to get my PhD, leaving my bride behind and 2 kids. My youngest daughter is here in the back. I carried her in my lap and left her for several years in India. And my eldest daughter also. Because my mom said, if you take the daughters and your wife with you, I'm going to jump in the well. What the hell I'm going to do by myself in this house, this primitive house that my grandfather handed us down? I didn't have an answer. Okay, Mom, I want to do my PhD, like my father did his doctorate degree. I want to get a doctorate degree. And this is a great opportunity, a great professor gave me a scholarship, and I traveled. I didn't see my wife. I told my secretaries and other good, beautiful looking girls that I married, so they don't fall on me. I was 26 years old. My jet black hair. I used to be very handsome, guys. Then when I landed in New York City, when you looked at, he's talking about routes, when I looked at this kind of a highway system, where the hell these people go their destination? Everything is so complex, the car is coming this way, is going this way, that way. We are only one street straight, and side streets. We know, you go left, right, that's we're done. But here, how do you go? These are the routes, right? I was confused. Next slide. Look at me. How do you look? That was my passport picture. 1962. And that when I got my degree and to a few conferences, I bought my own suit, my own tie. It looked like that. And this was a picture taken 45 years ago with my bride. How do I look? Huh? Handsome, right? This was my 85th birthday with my bride. Next one. These are my children. That is the eldest one in the right hand side. This daughter came later on, and this is the youngest daughter who is sitting in the back. And that son was born in the United States of America. As soon as she came, I made her pregnant. The one year this guy was born. And that guy is sitting over there. And all these 3 kids were, electrical engineers to begin with. And my eldest daughter was married to a physician, so she followed him to the office and took care of his practice. And the youngest one here, she did the electrical engineering, worked for Motorola. She got a degree from the Kellogg School of Business with MBA degree. And now she's working as a marketing director for Joint Commission here. And this guy, another crazy guy like me, he did his engineering, got 2 promotions, worked for Motorola. And then he said, Dad, I hate to put these cell systems, cellular systems, antenna design. I said, that's what I want to do. I want to go to medical school. So he went to medical school. He's now the practicing physician. If anybody has pains, he gives you some pain all right. He's a pain management doctor. He's sitting over there. The next one. These are my grandchildren. These 2 tall guys are the sons of my eldest daughter. And that beautiful girl is my daughter's daughter. These 2 little guys now 23 or 22 and 19, 20 in the age group. This guy over on the left, he graduated, he got a bachelor's degree, now he's studying master's degree. He wants to be a physician. This guy went to the University of Texas, Austin, majored in business. And those are our 5 great-grandchildren. So I tell my friends here, don't mess around with me. They will take care of you later on, like if you mess around with me. So, next one. Now, this is my academic achievement because I was always in academia. More than 150 papers published in books. These are books I published, all technical stuff. Nothing like our Sony and Jelly here, a lot of these beautiful books. These are all on crack, everything in wastewater, drinking water, that kind of stuff. Next one. These are all the awards I got, which I never asked for. Next one. That's a big one. They said, Ellis, I was told this was received by 7 presidents of the United States and 5 Nobel Prize winners. Let me now be honest with you. I don't even compare to the toenail which they're shedding off, the nail clipper. Me, in that ranks, I got the first call from Pat Merriweather. How many of you know, a Rotary Club member? Prakash, you got the Ellis Island Medal of Honor. I said, what? You know her in the League of His People? I didn't know that. But she told me that. Next one. And now, I retired deliberately, and my life's dream and vision. I came with empty hands to this world. My mom cried how I will grow, how I will develop. And we all go with empty hands. So I thought it would be time to give back. I deliberately retired after 28, 29 years serving in the Water Reclamation District. And every day when I went to work, I went with a good heart and came with a good heart too. Every day was fun for me. My job was never a boring thing. And so I thought, what do we do now? I heard about Rotary, about the service about self motto. I thought I would join Rotary. So I joined the Rotary Club of Naperville. We moved to Naperville. It's a great club. Somebody told me. I will learn from them. I'm always a student to learn things from people. Like, I learned some things from these 3 gentlemen. And you, I love you. My goodness, what did God said over time, I was scared. Look at him now. So there's always a turning point in people's life if you really dream about it. So that's what I was dreaming about. And so I registered a non-profit organization which celebrates centennial year in India, through which I thought I would give back to my community that adopted me in this country, and also the community that I left in India. Next one. So one of the projects, quickly I will go through. The mission and vision of the Bharati Tirtha, or my vision, is also working in these areas. Education is very important. Without education, we cannot progress. Thinking, giving, all these things through education, your parental guidance and all that. Environment, of course, I'm allowed, fair environment, and the health. These are the educational projects. I did it. Raising the money, begging people. I'm a shameless beggar. Not for me, but for the cause. So, these are the various projects they did. I don't want to bore you with this list. These are simply by self-initiative. I did these things. Of course, my sister here, Neelaji, knows a lot of these things because she is the same clan. Next one. Environment is my passion all my life, of 69 years. So I did these projects. Next one. The health. Diabetes is a big problem. And what he told me, they are spending almost like 6,000 rupees a week. There's a lot of money. Chronic kidney disease, 3 dialysis. And I learned this the hard way, but I said we must do a dialysis project. Now that 1,600 rupees become 300 thanks to Rotary and very good donors, very good people. And I got tears from my ears when everywhere, my eyes and ears and everywhere. When this lady said, I'm paying sir 6,000 rupees per week. Now we are paying only 1,000 rupees. What a pleasure. That you cannot buy anywhere in the market for any price. That's what this project is about. We're going to do one of them. Next one. Now, this is the other passion. I learned today what I am is because of my teachers. They always told me, what you learn in your life, give back to the community, to the society that you learn. So that is my motto. And this man, out of where he gave me a job. I never applied for a job anyway. They all came to me. And now these are my mentors. That is the only one still living. All these people are dead. The Fred Erickson is the guy who really motivated me when I was 19 years old. With all this kind of water and sanitation type of thing. So I don't forget them. They told me, be grateful to what you learned. It's time to give back. Now what I'm doing for the last 4 or 5 years is to honor these people's memory by inviting an environmentalist, have a lecture, what they have achieved in their life, give them an honorarium, bring the students, have a fellowship. At least even one of them can get motivated like they motivated me. I think my life is fully justified. Next one. So this is my dream. I'm going to rent my house and build maybe a skill development center. And this community center we're going to build. Now, I was told by my doctor friend, who is the district governor for the Rotary from my own town, that autism is increasing in children. He's seeing a lot of autistic children in his practice. So he said, Dr. Tata, we should do something about it. Let's do it. Why think about it? Let's continue to do that. So we are going to build a facility where we will transfer the music and college that's going on right in our house in the town. We demolish it, we like that, and then transfer the school into this building with an autism block. Early childhood development center, awareness creation, autism, spectral diseases, information education, awareness, all that stuff. That's what we will do. That's what. All of that. This is the Bharati Tirtha pledge that here. Bharati Tirtha will match one-to-one donations received from kind-hearted donors like you, up to 200K. These are my personal savings. I want to give back. As my mom used to say, you came with empty hands. You go back with empty hands. You're not going to carry anything. As long as you have a good life, your kids are there, they are not a liability, everything is set up. And why do you want? Give back to the community that adopted you. Give to the community that you were born. That's the passion right now I have. And I came with 1,200 rupees debt in my pocket. My scholarship was the only income. I used to send $100 to my family. Otherwise they would die over there in India. And with such kind of a reception from this community, United States of America, which is my home now, we are doing these projects through Rotary Club of Naperville. And my good friend Bernard Groth is here as a witness to those things, the Rotarians. And Neelaji is here, she knows what we do. We are in the same clan. Dharam Punwaji knows a little bit of my work because I worked with him when he was at Gas Research Institute. I treated him, so far and so forth. So a lot of people know a little bit of my work. Marilu Worley, I bump into her now, she is still continuing to do that when we have passion for greenery and nature and all that. So, good company. Forrest Darabha is a troublemaker, but he's a good guy. Okay. So, that's my legend appeal. Next one. So, my parting words, my friends. You have to have the passion to do anything in life. Unless you have passion, you're not going anywhere. Then persistence. Sometimes, you get sick of it. People come there, manana, like this. I'm not tired. I'm more robust, become energetic. All right, manana, I'm coming. There's Mother Teresa is my example. This lady, some minister in India promises something. You come here, tomorrow at 8:30 we'll talk. She's there at the gate. That politician will come at 10:30 or something. She's still there. Mother, you're here. I've been waiting for you for 2 years, 2 hours. You told me to come at 8:30. Like that, persistence pays off. Persistence pays. 2 P's, right? Then perfection. Whatever you want to do, try to achieve perfection. Says who? Prakash. 3 P's and 4th P. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, a very handsome Dr. Tata. And thank you so much for sharing about the routes you have taken, very inspirational, and leaving us with the message that is really so important for all of us, to be filled with gratitude, to always remember our teachers and to respect our gurus. That is such an important thing, and to give back to the community. So, thank you very much. We are going to take questions for the next 10-15 minutes if you have any, and I'll turn it over to Madhu.
Well, I don't know how to say thanks to these inspiring people whose stories uplift us, tell us there is, no matter what our beginnings are, no matter what challenge we face. I know Lucy needs somebody like ReThink, because I don't think I want to go challenging my neighborhood kids if they call me names. But yeah, there's a brave one. But we are all brave in our own ways, fighting our own battles. So I want to thank you, and I know we have some questions, but before we get if you would like to go grab something to eat, come back, ask questions, because our panelists, we have been able to assemble this amazing team. So we do not want to miss that opportunity. So I know we have questions, and I have the mic here. Let me know. Any questions for any of the panelists? You mean to say your fellow Rotarian are not going to hassle you?
Anybody can answer.
They can hassle you? Do you have any? Is there anything you want to ask Tata? Prasanji? Any? Anyone?
All right, go ahead.
Excellent. So, everybody, what you want to do next 5 or 10 years, so I can learn from
Get
5 or 10 years, what do you want to do?
He says, okay, you need to come closer. He can't hear you.
He wants to know what we want to do. He wants to know what we want to do in the next 5 to 10 years.
Next 5 or 10 years, what do you want to do? Working on this project?
Excuse me, could you please use the microphone?
Please, use the mic.
One more time?
So people can hear your question, please. Thank you.
So, first of all, I would appreciate that. Fantastic panel. And then I was asking them what they want to do next 5 or 10 years so that I can learn from them. And I'm working on.
You want to start? Oh. It's hard to think that far. And, every day is a struggle for me to find projects. I am working on a series of artwork called Chinese American, and intertwine my growing up as an immigrant in Chinatown to a little bit of history of what Chinatown culture was like to the artist I've become today. I am informed that the Chinese American Museum in Chicago is curating an exhibition next year. I'm hoping to go beyond that, and I think in 3 years I should have something like 70 pieces of original artwork with different techniques. And, but for me, it's a day-to-day struggle to find relevancy. So I try not to think 5, 10 years ahead because I may not live that long. But for sure, I have some short-term goals and long-term goals. But at this point, it's what's tomorrow is most important. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, sir, for that question. And of course, I already laid out something already for you. Of course, I think I will hit a century, don't you think? I think I do. Susan, you are smiling, huh? Am I going to hit century? Huh? Okay. So in the next 5, 10 years, I think I'll see what you're asking me to do, because first of all, those 2 projects on my mind, they are my constant attention. They are talking about them every single day almost. This morning also I talked to somebody. I will go to India, because things don't move that easily in India. I'm sure people will agree with me on that one, because I'm a single man's army. So these 2 things, I will be lucky if I will be able to get them done by the end of next year, 2025, 2026 at the most, okay? In the middle of 2026, because I want to see the results of that and continue to give to the community, because through Rotary is a great machine for me, great organization, and any little money I give through Rotary Foundation, I advise anybody who in this charity business or do something, whatever they want to achieve, to join the Best Rotary Club. If you give $1 to your project, it's going to do it community-wise, locally, otherwise, it can have a triple effect. Matching, 200 countries, 35,000 clubs, 1.4 or 1.2 million members, and they're anxious to give. You got the Rotary to give, not to take anything. The only thing they take away is your happiness, your joy of doing things, particularly at my kind of age. You make a lot of money, and you should make a lot of money to give back. So, I hope whatever we do, these kinds of projects, any water project, sanitation project, education project, health related project, I'm willing to participate in it, particularly with those places I can visit, because I want to see the sustainability of the project. Otherwise, I won't go to a lot of places to ask people to give money to some other place. But I have to put my skin into it, walk into it, and see the development of it.
I hope you hit your century and keep your spirit. Very inspiring. I think for me, this October 27th was my 10th anniversary of my first book coming out. And if I could explain to anyone here what publishing was like 10 years ago, especially commercial fiction, we had, I think, about 98% of all books published were white. And when you went to a publisher or to an agent with your story idea and your melanin, those two things together usually got you a laugh. And there was very interesting things that back then editors could say to your face about readership, about how there is no market for your story and all that. So these past 10 years have involved a lot of advocacy on the part of a lot of people who believed that their stories and their voices had as much of a right to be heard as, as those that were already being published. And so the world has literally changed beneath my feet in these past 10 years. Having said that, it's not changed quite enough. And we're just starting to, just starting to see cracks in these brick walls, not even glass ceilings. So I see, we're all coming out of, an election, and day to day, I think the thing that really strikes me is how little control we have over anything other than what we can do. And I consider my purpose for being on this earth is the purpose of telling stories in order to change minds. And I think that the way that fiction allows you to get into the skin and shoes of other people, nothing else does. You can read all the non-fiction in the world, but having a lived experience through a character, through fiction, is really a way that allows for a fundamental shift inside you. And I think that I feel is my, is the reason I was put on this earth, is to actually get everybody to think the way I think. No, I kid, but women especially have been raised with so many lies about ourselves, right? And so the simple act of having young girls look in a mirror and see, see beauty, see power, see those things, and that's what I'm trying to do with my stories, is to get at least one reader. If one reader can change how they feel when they see a person who looks different from them and prays differently from them and loves differently from them, if that one person treats another human being differently one time and sees what that means. So that's kind of what I have tried to do, and I think that that's the only thing I can do, whether it is for 5 years or 10 years. I want to keep writing until the day that I die, and and that's what I want to keep doing with my writing, which is entertain, give escape, but also get people to look at other humans as themselves, and that oneness in humanity, and just one step with every word I write, and that's what I want to do forever and ever and ever.
Thank you.
I'm a planner, and so when I was a kid, I used to plan out my life to the end, and especially when I started engineering, I had everything planned out, and nothing ever works the way I planned. So I stopped planning, and I can't believe I was ever bored in my 20s, because there's so many things I want to do now that I really wish I could clone myself. So, I'm going to Sonali, because I might write a book. become the divorce whisperer in Naperville. I went through a horrifying divorce about 10 years ago, and I came out in better shape than even coming out. So I'm one of the divorce success stories, and so because of that, all my friends send all their divorced friends to me whenever they're going through a divorce. And I'm like, you know what, I don't have time to talk to everyone and, you know, listen to you cry, but, you know, I might have to write a book because, you know, everything's gonna be okay. So that's just one thing. I'm also going through the pain of 3 elections now. It is so difficult to be a grassroots campaigner, and so I've got a little startup going with my husband. But I've got a tech startup going on to help grassroots campaigns, and so there's little things here and there. And I might run for higher office at some point in my life. We'll just see how things go. But I've stopped planning, so I'll know when I see it.
So divorce history is great book title. It's a great book title.
What I'm going to do now is actually going to interrupt everyone.
Especially our panelists. They've been hard at work for the past 2 hours. They need a little break, right, Rich? Okay. If you would like to, what we can do is, I know that they want to mingle with you and you want to mingle with them. So is that okay if we get up, enjoy some food, talk to people one-on-one?
Other questions?
Are there any questions? Because earlier I didn't see any hands. So any questions? Yes, sir. Need to come here so everyone can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for so much for this opportunity. So Prakash, there is a question for you. That how to be consistent in a passion? Because sometimes, you know, something may fall down and you can't have that passion. That consistency.
I tell you the secret.
Yeah.
Okay? You have a nice beard, black hair, and all that. And what I suggest to you, 2 mantras. Early morning, when you get up and you finish your ablutions and things like that, stand before the mirror. Oh, what's your name?
Giri.
Ready?
Yeah.
Say your name. Ale, how handsome you are. Look at the mirror.
Yes.
And you say, I refuse to worry. You know, everybody wants to, let's say, this is actually, I addressed a commencement to graduating class in Hyderabad. I didn't know what to say. Suddenly it flashed on me. I gave a sentence. I want to be dash. I chose 2 beautiful women, they are in the 25-30 range, and 2 young men, 25-30 range. I gave them a sentence. I want to be dash. Fill it with 1 word. They are all rural development officers. Graduated from engineering class, 1 year. Beautifully dressed. They're going back to win the war in the villages. So I gave this question. And then this beautiful young lady got up. Sir, I want to be the best rural development officer in that country. No, just 1 word. I don't want a paragraph answer. I said, there is 1 young lady, all the 4 people gave different answers. With more than 1 word. That lady in the back, she said, sir, I think you're looking for the word happy. Right on, I want to be happy. But just deliberately ask the question, how to keep the passion every day? I said, you cannot be happy all the time. Everybody wants to be happy, but not for you to know happiness, you should know also what unhappiness is. If you're always unhappy, there's no time to be happy. Same thing, passion. I'm passionate about this thing. I told you about the 2 projects. I've done all those other projects like that. I'm a persistent, like a leech, till I get my positive answer. I bought them nicely, not criticizing anybody. Forrest knows me very well, this guy. So, you consistently say to yourself, whatever you want to accomplish, the opposite. I refuse to yield. I refuse to be unhappy. Somebody says, you know, the passion, they say, great, lousy project. No, you believe that you dreamed of it, you want to do it. You don't listen to anybody. You achieve your goal, like being say, hey, come on. That's okay, thank you, sir. But don't antagonize the person. You want to be nice to everybody, like a Vishwamitra. You have to be the friend of the universe. That's what Rhodes tells you also. So, why not? You want to accomplish a goal, You don't want to be intimidated by somebody or intimidate someone else. Be friendly with them. Because some people may not be able to do it because they have other priorities, they have, passions like you, some other passion. Huh? You saw different passions that we have. I'm passionate about this. Yes, when I fulfill these missions, because a lot of projects we do through Rotary, and all kinds of different things. Yesterday I was looking at in Uganda, some kids want to learn computers, and I participate in that. So, there are so many opportunities. Don't lose hope. Be passionate, first of all. Don't lose passion. And you will be persistent. Achieve perfection. Show something that you achieve perfection. That's it. If Prakasam Tata can do it, man, you can do it. No problem.
Has a question. All right. Here you go.
Thank you. Now, this is for Lucy pretty much, but all of you, the arts, the writing, and the painting, and the waterwork, everything is fantastic, and I love hearing these stories. I want to follow up with Lucy, though, on your approach to the young people who clearly hadn't heard of ReThink and Trisha's wonderful project. How did your intervention and interaction with the youth and their parents strengthen the community?
Is this working? Okay. I would say that the parents did not know that their kids were saying stuff like that. So my suspicion is that the kids were hearing it from their parents anyways. And so this was probably the first time that these parents were ever confronted that what they're saying in front of their kids is going to be echoed through their kids. The parents were very nice to me. They're like, we're sorry, we'll talk to them, But, and those little kids, so that was the teenagers. And like 2 of them were cousins, and so they were the parents, and then they were like, okay, well, these 2 are cousins, I'm going to talk to their parents too. But those young kids, the 10-year-olds, I don't know who their parents are, but I know that they were scared enough. I'm pretty sure I sufficiently scared them enough that they will think before they say something like that. Because, when I was a kid, I couldn't really fight back. But, I was already in my 40s. I got nothing to lose. I'm not going to let some 10-year-old push me around. But I just hope that, so number one, it was only one kid that said it, and his friends were just mortified when I confronted all 4 of them. So I think that after that, when I was berating all of them, especially the one that was saying those comments, those kids they looked at him like, why did you do that? This old lady is yelling at us and, berating us, don't say stuff like that anymore. So, I think that people need to be confronted. We need to stand up. It was different when I was a kid. No one would defend me, It was easy to just kind of brush it under the carpet. My parents wouldn't stand up for me because they got it way worse than I did because they had very thick accents, But we live in a society where we can call it out, we can confront, and I can take a 10-year-old, so yeah, we just need to be a lot more aware of what we're saying, what our kids are saying to other people. I mean, if my kids said that to somebody, I would just be so mortified, and I would take away everything that was ever dear to them, to teach them a lesson. I think more people need to do that.
I have a question for the women on the panel, for Lucy and Sonali. So I think the 3 of us know being a woman of color, it's exhausting every day. It's exhausting, and there's so much anger and there's so much emotion that comes from it. Your anger for yourself and your anger to the people around you. You could go back to when you're 23. Tell yourself what you needed to say to get through the next however many years of your life and to end up on the platforms and the success that you guys have. What would it be?
So the question is, what would you tell your 23-year-old self about dealing with the anger that goes with being a woman, right? It is exhausting. Life is exhausting, especially when you're jet lagged. What I would tell my 23-year-old self is, that everything that seems like it is a really big deal right now, question why it feels like that. I think, and this question comes from my daughter, which is why this is so interesting, but everything you've been taught about yourself, everything you've been taught about what you deserve is a lie or can be a lie, right? And everything that feels important, the opinions of people, the things that you've been told you cannot do, the things you're pushed to do, you need to put all this aside and listen really to what you want to do and who you are, and that's the journey. So everything that feels hard, kind of, I think, burrow through that and get to what you really want, because what you really want, identifying that is 90% of the journey. So I wish I had known when I was 23 that the opinions of people absolutely do not matter. And I mean, as your mom heard this over and over and over again, the only person whose opinion matters in your life is your own, and that takes away, I think, a lot of the fear and the disappointment, because your fear and disappointment has to do with other people, not with yourself. And so that's what I wish. I always knew, but I wish I knew that at the forefront of my brain.
I echo the whole, it's more impactful when you're 23, it feels like you've got this mountain to climb, but I would say take the little wins as you can. And I will say, as a woman of color, when I was in my 20s in California, it was nothing. That was not an issue for me. The issue for me was being a woman, not being a woman of color. And I've heard people say it's a man's world, and it kind of is. But if you look at, so I'm 52 now, things are so much different than when I was a kid. There are a lot more opportunities for me because I've been standing the shoulders of the women before me. Everyone older than me in this room helped build, the platform that I'm on. And I'm the ultimate workaround person. I can find creative ways around anybody. And so when I was working for the county, I worked for DuPage County in 2020, I had a toxic boss. And toxic work culture is a huge issue for a lot of people. There are a lot of people, they talk about imposter syndrome. There's a lot of people that are imposters that are in charge of some big decisions. And the funny thing about my boss is that I am now her boss as a DuPage County board member. And she has straightened up, she puckers up whenever I come into the room now. So, it's never anything I ever anticipated, and I don't do it because I'm power hungry, but I'm so outraged when I see unfairness, and there was a lot of unfairness when I was working there. I didn't run, like I said, I didn't run to get revenge, although it's really nice when you can get it, but just take the little wins when you can. And I call my husband white man privilege. And, I use him to get what I need to. You got a partner, you got to make friends and build your coalition of friends and your professional network and work together to get wins too.
And listen to your mother.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
And lean into your outrage. I mean, there's nothing wrong with outrage. Always, like even what you said before, running after those kids in high heels, right? I would urge everybody in this room, if we want to make Naperville a better place, anytime you see something that outrages you, stop, point it out, and do something,
All right, any more questions? Okay, in that case, we will now invite our panelists also to get up, mingle, eat something. We have lots of food back there. And before we get dispersed completely. I want to once again thank my panelists. I want to thank my guests who are here. All of you we are so honored to have you with us. Benny White. Okay, we do want a picture, I guess. And okay, do you want to go get them? Thank you. And we have a little gift for our panelists too. So we will do that. Thank you for coming.
There's a card with each one.
The card is over here.
Okay. Prakasam ji, this is for you. Who wants to take a picture?
Yeah, I will take the picture.
Somebody is taking a picture, I know. Aparna?
What?
Picture time. Okay. Shiva? Okay, your daughter is covered. Okay, good.
Lucy,
Okay, is everybody in?
There's a card in each
Okay, just 1 minute. Yeah.
No, you can go ahead and
Oops.
Take away some of the toughness.
Sonali's daughter, you should also join us.
Just take the picture.
Yeah, I took.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
And that's the house.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm so sorry. 1 minute. Behelji, where are you? He's a board member who's always working. He's never in any of the pictures. Over here. Over here.
He needs special invitation.
He needs special invitation.
No, I was thinking the paperwork. Okay.
Thank you. Take a picture.
Perfect.
One more.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, panelists, you guys.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I pretended to be really tall. How are you?
Very good. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you. Get something to eat before you go.
I have one thing.
Yes. Take a cup.
Thank you very much.
Rich, do you need to be dropped off somewhere?
Okay. Thank you.
Big selfie.
Thank you very much.
I know you're good at it. ITT days.
फेसबुक पे देखेंगे मेरे ग्रीन मीडिया में जरूर देखना बिल्कुल नो
बहल जी Aparna, a board picture with panelists, which is already gone.
नहीं he is here.
Rich. Okay, all right. Okay. Let's go by
The next train now. Picture time. Picture time.
Sorry, I have a steal.
That's not allowed. He's just taking a picture. Let's go.
Let's see who takes the best picture.
Tell her not to be in the picture. Are you okay? I think this is yours. Take some water, yes. The card is good. Okay, don't touch it. It won't be any good to her. Thank you, my dear.
Okay.
इकट्ठा ड्रॉप करने मधु जी
Definitely, we will.
I'm really grateful. Thank you for coming. I'm so glad you came. Okay. Yes. And they're so different, but they are so great in their
Smile, everybody.
समोसा I'm dying for. आपने कुछ खाया?
అమ్మాయి చెప్తోంది